everybody, my name is Kara Brown. I'm an urban fantasy author, and I wanted to talk to you, or rather have a discussion with you about the attitude towards fans this year. So usually unlike my other videos, it's mostly just kind of me like reporting on something or sharing information or kind of doing like something that's educational in order to help other writers. But I wanted to do something a little different with a different background because I feel like this is going to be more of a discussion video. And I've talked about this a little bit in the past when I did a video in regards to somebody that I worked with who made a very bad comment towards the romance community. And some of the points then I didn't think were going to blow up like they are right now. And so I just thought, like, as the writer and the author community, I thought we could kind of sit down, reflect, and maybe just have a discussion about this. So I've got my mug of coffee ready right here. Go ahead and get yours, and let's just talk about this. So this isn't the first time I've wanted to do this video. There's been a couple times I've wanted to do this video, and the reason that I either didn't do it or I put it off is because something was going on in the media at the time where I was like, this is not a good time. Like, I know I've made some reactionary videos in regards to some events that were going on, and I really don't want to be like that kind of channel where I have, like, outspoken opinions constantly about something that's happening on, in the world. I do want to kind of keep this focused on things that affect writers, and so on and so forth. But obviously, as a writer, fans affect me, and I am not okay with the treatment that fans are giving, and let me give you a couple of examples. So the most recent example, but what I'm talking about right now, has to do with the Terminator movie that is coming out, and the comment that was made that if you don't like this movie, you are an XYZ person. And my problem with that is that if somebody doesn't like a movie, they don't like it because they're misogynist, or they don't like strong women or anything like that. The reason they don't like it is usually something a little bit more fundamental, like, bad story writing, bad characterizations, things like that. However, there's this growing trend that I have noticed in the media, in particular when it comes to various movies, where people are basically saying if you don't like it, you're either a troll or you're misogynist or you're just a bad person. And the problem is that a lot of this is being said before movies are being released right now. Now, don't get me wrong, I do like the movie with the strong female lead as much as the next person. In fact, I have been reading stories of that nature for pretty much a really long time, but I don't really treat these stories any different than I treat a story with a male protagonist. I'm always looking for certain things, like, is there character growth? What is the common traits? What are their faults? Are they a realistic character? Are they Mary, Gary, Sue? When I read a book, I'm looking for a good character. I'm not just looking for a character based on gender, but that's not really the point that I'm trying to get to. But the point I'm trying to make is I'm really concerned with the way that fans are being treated in the media when it comes to criticism. So everybody's kind of, I think, on par with what happened with the Captain Marvel movie, so I'm not going to talk too much about that. But what I will say is that now there's a new argument coming out where if you liked Battle Angel Alita over Captain Marvel, you're an alt-right. So now we're not just only accepting criticism, but now we're labeling people because they like one movie over another. What the fuck is happening? I literally had a discussion with my husband where I was telling him I don't want to go and watch any more movies if I'm going to be insulted before the movie has even come out, because why would I want to go and watch a movie and potentially not like it if, I'm going to be told that if I don't like it, I'm a sexist, I'm a misogynist, I'm a whatever. Like, why would I want to go and risk that? I'm better off just not spending my money at all on this kind of stuff. Now, I'm applying a lot of what I'm talking about in regards to the movies, so I do want to talk a little bit about some examples that I have seen in the publishing industry, because there are some examples in the publishing industry, unfortunately. So I want to start with an example that I have seen from AuthorTube, and I'm not gonna throw this person under the bus too much, but this person does have a very large community and they do have a really big reach. And one of my friends who's a regular correspondent with this person, who I'm not naming either because I need this person to still talk to me, informed me that, when this author was asked about negative criticism that came onto their book, because there's some sizable criticism on the work that came out, and they said that the only people who don't like their books are trolls. And I was just like, okay, that's a correct, or not a correct, but that's kind of like an interesting observation. And I wasn't sure. Usually when I come into situations like this, I'm like, is that true? I wonder. Let's go find out. And so, I went and looked at the reviews on Amazon, and I went and looked at the reviews on Goodreads as well. And while I was looking at them, the critiques on the book are actually pretty sound. Like, they're not kind of like, I hate this book because I hate the story. It's just kind of like, at this part, this doesn't make any sense, or this doesn't flow, this isn't consistent with what happened at this point. Like, these are things that, I hate saying it, these are things that a really good editor are going to find. and that readers are finding as well. So to come out and basically say that the people who critique my work are trolls I don't really think that that's a good stance to take. For example, because I know it will come, my book is coming out on August 9th, shameless plug, but when my book comes out on August 9th, I know that there are going to be people who don't like it. I just know it, right? It's not because it's a touchy material, it's just because sometimes it happens. And now I'm not going to be sitting there scouring through Goodreads trying to figure out, going through all the reviews and stuff, because that's just, key for depression in some situations. But I am going to go check them out on occasion, because I think it's really important to hear what people have to say in regards to, your work. And those are probably going to be things that I take into account when I'm working on my next works. Like if I have fans that all are able to point out one blaring inconsistency that's happening within my work, I need to know about that. You know what I mean? I'm going to take it into account. Now, if these are personal attacks, because we all know that people on Goodreads go for the soul, I'm going to ignore those. But, constructive feedback, that's different. Now, it hurts me to do this. I want to talk about an author that I absolutely love, because it's just fair. Okay, so this hurts me a little bit, but I do want to use this as an example, because I think it's a good example about kind of what I'm talking about. Kevin Hearn is one of my favorite authors. I absolutely love Kevin Hearn. I have gone to several conventions that Kevin Hearn is at. I have shaken his hand. I am a shameless fangirl of everything that Kevin does. Kevin is one of the few authors that when he comes out with something, it's one of those insta-buy things, because that's just how much I like his work. I like his wit. I like his storytelling. I like a lot of it. However, what I don't like is how he ended this series. I don't like how he ended it at all. And if you are interested in this and you do not want spoilers, I'm gonna put a time code right here so that way you don't get it. And I'm gonna talk about this and why I thought that it was a disservice to fans, and why I thought his reaction to what fans were saying was not appropriate. This book series went downhill, I want to say, after book 5. There are 9 books that are in this series that follows an individual named Atticus. He is a very old druid, and he is running around doing all sorts of little druid things, and I really like this setting because there are gods that you can interact with. There's magic, there's hexes, there's witches. It's a very creative world. Like, there's seriously rich imagination when it comes into the creation of these works, and that was why I was just so enamored with it when I first started reading it. Like, at first I was like, I'll give it a try, and the next thing you know, I had bought the first 5 books in a week. I actually went and bought them from a place when I found out that they had him sign them, so I went and bought them all there, just because, 1, I want to support him, 2, that's just how much I like them. Like, most of these books that you see behind me, they are not signed. All the Kevin Hearn ones, I have them all signed. That's just how much I like them. But something happened after book 5 in regards, first off, my major grievance with the whole story is a character named Granuel. I am not a fan of Granuel at all. Granuel represents a lot of not indecisiveness. She represents a mentality in females that I really, honestly, I find disgusting, or repulsive. I don't like her mentality. I don't like how she treats things. I don't like some of the assumptions that she's made. There's definitely a I'm better than you kind of mentality. Not to mention that the book also treats her that way. She's young, she's inexperienced, but she's better pretty much at everything. She's given better titles, she's given more respect just because she's female. And while I do respect that there's, kind of there's some symbolism in there, I can see it, but at the same time, I really feel that this is a disrespect to a lot of the established characters who have been around for a very long time. They've experienced stuff, but, she comes in and she says that things have to be this way and things are just have to go that way, or it's just not right. The major thing that killed me at the end is, there's this, again, spoilers, there's a huge battle that happens in the very end of the book, but this is lost a little bit because this isn't the last book. I'm just holding it up. Because in the last book, we were following 3 different people, and it was basically 3 novellas that were put into one book. And the person I wanted to follow was Atticus. I wanted to follow Atticus because he was going into this big battle. It was the big Ragnarok situation. They were gonna, with the fate of the world shit, right? That's the stuff I care about. And in some scenes, we were following, Owen when he was going out and doing elemental stuff, which had no effect on the book whatsoever. You could have cut out all the Owen stuff and it would not have changed anything. Nothing. And then we had Granuel, who was off doing Granuel stuff, and long story short, Granuel finds out that Atticus is trying to keep her safe from the end of the world, and she gets really upset because she's a strong, independent woman, and she's not going to take that shit from Atticus. And so she arrives at the big battle, and just as, Atticus is doing, kind of like the epic swing, she just comes out of nowhere and just punts the fuck out of the main antagonist and wins. And then starts to berate Atticus for, like, how dare you try and protect me because you love and respect me and you want to keep me safe. I'm a strong woman. If I want to kill myself, I'm going to do it. I'm kind of paraphrasing there just a little bit, but that was just, And then on top of that, she's like, we can't belong together, so I'm going to take your house and your dogs, and you have to go live somewhere else until we can get this stuff. She kicks him out of his own fucking house. What the fuck? So I have a huge grievance with that. Not to mention that the person that really does actually love Atticus is dead. She's dead, but, he's having dreams where she's trying to be like, well, we could be together forever if you would just kind of die. And he was like, well, I'm not ready to die yet. But you know what? Why don't we date in dreams and see how it goes? And I was just like, I can't even, guys. And then the last thing, I have a major problem with that part of the story as well, because when that character died, that was such a huge moment. Like, I was like, I cried because it was huge. It was momentum. It was impactful. I thought it was a beautiful sacrifice. And then, comes out, it's like, hey, I'm not really dead. I'm just kind of here, like, hanging out in the afterlife. You want to kill yourself so we can, like, fuck? Like, oh my god. So naturally, that was 9 books. That took multiple years. That was a lot of reading investment. People were very, they were very attached to how this book series is going to end. And then that ending happened. And so there was a lot of backlash, and some of it's really bad, like some of it is, and I get it, because when you spend that much time, invested in something and following something, there's definitely like an expectation there about how, not about how the story should go, but there's definitely kind of like, the fans are deserving of something. And Mr. Hearn went and did an interview, and they asked him if there was anything that he wanted to share with his fans in regards to, something that he wanted to convey about the last book. And all he said was that actions have consequences, please don't forget that. And I was just like, no, Mr. Hearn, no. I know what he's talking about because it happens in this book. However, the events that happen in this book become irrelevant because of the shit he does in book 9. So, no, actions don't have consequences because apparently when people die, they're not really dead. I'm okay. I am. But, so this is the example that I'm trying to make when it comes to kind of like, just, the reaction was, like, I don't think that was the right reaction to give to fans. Actions have consequences, okay, sure, but, you had people that were invested in this book series for almost 10 years, right? Almost 10 years, and then they got that kind of ending, and it was honestly, like, it was very lackluster, and I don't know why it was that way. I don't know if Mr. Hearn was just done with the series and he wanted to move on to other projects, or if that was the intentional ending that he had, to talk about, and I don't want to make this a huge Kevin Hearn and Iron Druid video. But yeah, fans were obviously upset because there's a time investment. And I feel that when you do something and you write and you have loyal fans that follow you for a decade, I do think that they are owed something that is appropriate. Now I don't think that ending was appropriate. I don't think the response was appropriate. This doesn't change my view of the author. I still think Mr. Hearn is a fantastic, sweet person. I think he's very creative, just great person overall. Ending of that book series, though, no, not okay with that. So mid video question here. If you've spent a long time invested in a series only to have like just a really bad ending like that, what would be your reaction to it? I'll put that question down below too in case you forget it. But I think it is warranted that if you spend a lot of time talking about something, spreading the word, sharing this with other people, only to find out that the end happens in a very not desirable way, like what would your thoughts and opinions on that be? Presently, I think the more popular example that's going on in regards to that situation I'm talking about with Mr. Hearn is actually going to be the Game of Thrones TV show. The last season happened, and yeah, I never even watched any of it, and I heard about how it ended, and I was just like, that's crap. And when fans came out and basically said, what is this? What have you done? They were basically told that, this was, they were given a really bad excuse. Like, even I, who am not a fan or a huge follower of the series, was looking at that reason going like, that's it? Like, no. And I did watch the interviews with with the people, and they were talking about, I was like, well, you have to understand that people forgot about this and people forgot about that. I'm going to let y'all know. When you piss off a fan base, they will turn into detectives, and they will finger comb through everything, and then they'll point out where you forgot. Because they did that interview, we're saying like, well, people forgot about this, and they're like, okay, well, you forgot that these two people are actually connected, and that this happened, and that scene didn't actually happen because you just wanted to put that movie star in there, and da 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 da. Like, when you piss off fans, they will go the extra mile. I think the romance community, I always bring them up because the romance community frightens me on a very fundamental level, because when you anger the romance community, you might as well just crawl into a hole and cover it with a rock and wait for it to die over, because it's very scary. In the copy-paste crisis situation in regards to the Brazilian author who went and plagiarized over 50 authors' works, 100 books, 2 Wikipedia articles, 3 recipes, and something else. When the romance community found out, these people got together, went through all the books that this person had produced, found all the passages, found all the books that they were taken from, and compiled a list to go and give to the lawyer. Like, this was countless hours of work, and they did it for free, and they did it because this lady messed with their genre. Y'all frighten me. Now, I know that there are situations in regards to when fans or people have a thought or opinion about something, and it can get into a very large argument. Like, currently at the time I'm recording this video, Disney has announced that they're doing a live action remake of The Little Mermaid, and they've casted Ariel to be an African American. I have no opinion on this. It does not bother me. It does not affect me, because the ethnicity of Ariel does not change the story. Yeah, it came from a dramatic story. Originally, she was cast as I don't think she was a redhead in the original story. I think she was like a blonde white girl. But you can correct me on that if you actually know that one. But like the fact that she's white or black doesn't actually change the story. That was kind of my stance on The Dark Tower when they changed the casting for the gunslinger, because in the books he's a white guy, but in the movie he's not. And the whole reason I didn't have an opinion on that is because it doesn't actually change the story. So when it comes to like now I will be honest, like when I hear stuff about that, my thoughts always kind of like, well, if they change like certain ethnicities of my characters in my book, how upset would I get? Like, would I put my foot down or anything like that? And with the exception of the characters that do belong to a certain area, like the Kitsune have to be Japanese, right? David has to be Chinese American, because that's the struggle that his family went through. Like, if you completely change that, you can change the family dynamic, and it doesn't make any sense. But if you are doing that to a character where it changes the background, it changes the struggles they went through, and you did it just because you wanted to do it, that's probably when I usually come in and say, you can't do that, because that completely changes the entire backstory of this character and everything that they endured. Now, we are talking about the Ariel thing, and again, with the thing that I mentioned about in the beginning of the book, or not in the beginning of the book, oh my goodness, the thing I mentioned in the beginning of the video when I said that basically when you don't like something, a label is thrown at you, and I don't think that's a wise thing to do ever. Obviously people who are kind of like, oh, you don't like a black Ariel, well, you're a racist. Like, maybe these people are just attached. Like, there are 2 different mentalities. I want to talk about that real quick. There are 2 different mentalities that people typically have. There's the mentality that when they learn something, it is an established fact, and when you try and deviate from that fact, they resist it, because in their brain, this is just how it is. And when you try to tell them to change it, it doesn't work. Now, like, let's use Vin Diesel, for example. Or Vin Diesel? Vin Diesel, sorry. He's in all the Fast and Furious movies. But if somebody came over and said, well, he's actually gay, and he's been lying about all this time, and I have proof, there will be some people that'll be like, no, absolutely not. He is straight as can get, blah, 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 blah. And then there'll be another group of people who are just kind of like, that's interesting. Let me think about that. And so there's just obviously like this warring idea and of mentality. You've got people that don't accept change very quickly versus people who are kind of like, that's interesting. Let me think about that. And obviously the people who, I guess I put the hand over here, obviously the people who encounter something that to them is fact, they're going to take a little bit longer to change, but they will change, and kind of attacking these people because they're not immediately getting on the bandwagon with well, that's interesting, let me think about that group, attacking them is not productive, and it doesn't go very well, and that's unfortunately a lot of what I'm seeing, but that's not mostly what I'm seeing. Anyway, I just wanted to, moving on. Now, I know I've done a lot of talking. I've given you guys a couple of examples about how I think that fans are not treated well. The big reason I wanted to make this video is because I think immediately coming out and saying that fans are bad, or labeling them as a certain type of like left or right wing or whatever, they're misogynist, they're racist, or whatever. If you're name calling something before it even comes out, then you're already offending people. You're offending even potential people, because like I said earlier, and at this point I don't want to watch movies anymore. I really don't want to watch movies anymore, because if I go to something and I end up not liking it, people are going to come at me, it's like, oh, well, you're a misogynist or you're a racist, and it's just these things. And it's like, maybe I didn't like it because the storytelling sucks. Maybe I didn't like it because it's not consistent with all the other movies. Maybe I don't like it because it's just a bad movie, right? But with the way that fans are being treated in the media right now, you can't just not like something. And I think that what's happened is that Hollywood doesn't know how to take criticism. When I was growing up, back in my day, if a movie came out and it was not good, the headline was, viewers disapprove of movie, viewers do not like movie, right? Right now, if a movie comes out and people don't like it, it's like trolls assaults or trolls do this. Like, it's very yellow journalism, actually, in regards to why people don't like movies. But it's never going to be because the movie's actually bad. It's just going to be bad people watching movies. And so from a business standpoint, that's really a bad idea. It's really bad because, while I'm not going to speak for everybody, I do know that a lot of the people that I associate with outside of the internet, they've all stopped going to see Disney stuff because of this reoccurring thing that's going on. A lot of them don't want to watch movies. Some of them are kind of skeptic on books right now, and that kind of frightens me, because I need people to, I would love people to buy my book, but I don't want them to not buy my book because they're worried about getting labeled or attacked. And I think what really needs to happen is there needs to be an intervention. There needs to be an intervention with the big media people, and unfortunately they won't listen to anybody until their wallet gets really hit. And this isn't like a call up to action for me saying boycott all movies until they actually listen to what we have to say, because that's just a bullying tactic. That's not what I want to do. But I really do think that there needs to be more opinion shared in regards to, when you name call us and we haven't even done anything, how do you expect us to react? Because you're just asking for trouble at that point. Actually, there's another example I want to give, and I know it's like beating a dead horse, but I do want to talk about it. So, Zenith by Sarah and Lindsay. I've never met these authors. I've seen their channels. I think they're both very sweet ladies. I think you were done wrong by the publisher who published this book. There are some things that have happened in this work that I think a developmental editor would have caught. They would have mentioned it. And a number of other things, like the pacing alone, you were done wrong on, and I really think that you guys got taken advantage of by this publisher who's looking to make a quick buck off of your popularity. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up in the example of this movie in regards to disrespect for fans is because I can't remember who it was, there was an interview, I apologize, but one of the authors was in an interview, and somebody for them also asked, what are your thoughts on the conflict or the mixed feedback that you've gotten on your book? And if you were under a rock and you happened to miss this, obviously there was a lot of controversy when this book came out. This was really demoralizing for a lot of booktubers who wanted to be authors, because when this book came out and it came out the way it did, all they saw was that you only get published if you have, if you're a guaranteed sell. That is a business tactic, unfortunately. It is really sad for me to admit that, but if a publisher knows that they can have guaranteed sales with you, then you are more likely to get picked up. But so anyway, one of them was in an interview, and they asked about the mixed feedback that they got, because obviously their fans loved it, and then people who were really, there were people who were like salty about the fact that they got published, and like it was pure jealousy. I will come out and say that there were some videos that came out, they were not logical, they were not sound, and basically they were upset that these two people had the audacity to get published. But at the same time, there were some people who did come in here with, you know, good criticisms about it. And obviously you had fans that were coming in with like nothing but like unending support. It was a great work of work. It's the most perfect book ever, you know. So very, very drastic reviews are coming out for this book, or came out for this book. I DNF'd it. I DNF'd it for reasons that I don't want to get into for this video. But again, I'm going back to what I was trying to get to. So one of the authors was doing an interview, and they asked about the mixed feedback in regards to the book. And the author's response was, haters are going to hate. So this kind of goes back to the earlier comment I made about like if there is a lot of criticism in regards to something that I am producing or that I have produced, while it is going to be very painful for me to analyze those facts, I am still going to be looking for common trends. You know, is there one thing that's blaringly wrong with my work that I need to take into an account? Now, her response, that always, there are a lot of different ways to respond, and I think if there's a bad way to respond, that's pretty much it. Because when you say something like that, you're just, it's still insulting to the people. You know, like if I came out and I said, look, I didn't like your book, and I gave what I thought were unbiased reasons, and I'm told, well, you just don't like my book because you're a hater. It's like, no, I like literally, I'm trying to tell you some fundamental things that are wrong with your work, and you're shutting me down because you don't want to hear what I have to say. And so that's the impression that I got from that statement that she made, and it was very sad. It was very disappointing. But again, people react to criticism very differently. I don't know. I heard that they're coming out with another book. Can anybody confirm that? Because if they are, I guess I'll try to reread this again. But no promises, because if I want to give a book 2 a shot, because I really want to think that after everything died over, maybe somebody had like an intervention with them or sat down and said, look, because I'll be straight. The universe that this is and the character tropes, they're not bad. You know, that is engaging. I don't see a lot of books that are like this. I thought that the premiere or the premise was very intriguing. I'm definitely very curious about the universe. So just because of that alone, I would be willing to read this, just so that way I can have enough context for the second book. So if anybody knows if they're actually doing book 2, let me know. My personal stance on the entire thing is that if I am a fan and I invest a lot of time and a lot of my energy into you and what you are doing, I'm not saying that you owe me anything, but I do want to feel some kind of satisfaction at the end of the series. Mr. Hearn let me down in a really bad way. Like at one point I was like, maybe I should just not read any more of Mr. Hearn's books. But then I decided that was silly, because who knows what was going on when he was creating the ending for this book. Maybe his other works will come out better. Maybe pursuing something that he is fundamentally enjoying is going to change the tone of his writing. I don't know. But I think that if somebody puts a lot of time and a lot of effort and they invest in you, I think it's really important to honor that. Fans obviously don't forget, and they will tell everybody about it. This is not the first time that I have talked about my disgruntlement with the ending of the Iron Druid Chronicles. And it's probably not going to be last. Maybe if I get into a room with Mr. Hearn, I can like do an interview and be like, can you please explain this to me, because I read every book multiple times and your ending still doesn't make sense to me, and why you chose to do it this way. Maybe that's what I need to do. Maybe I just need to interview Mr. Hearn. And I think the fundamental reason about why this is really sticking with me is because books and movies are my escapism. I have a lot of stuff that goes on in my life. It's all very stressful. It's not always fun times on the other side of this camera with Caroville. You know, I got things going on, and I just want to go and lose myself in a world, and I want to lose myself in a world that, you know, leaves me feeling happy. Part of the reason I do read romance, and the part of the reason I read a lot of romance is because I just want somebody to have a happy ending, and I want to experience that with them. It's my escapism. It makes me feel better. And when I go through a movie or a game or anything and the ending is just a huge letdown, you know, I've wasted my time, I've wasted my effort, and I became attached to something that ultimately let me down. So, you know, that's part of the reason why I guess I'm really attached to this topic. Now, am I saying that you have to bend over backwards to make your fans happy at all costs, all the time? No, I mean, you can't make everybody happy all the time, but with that in mind, though, I do think that I want to say probably 80% of your fan base is still owed, you know, kind of like the ending that they deserve in a way, or they need to have a conclusion to whatever it is that you are sharing with them, that in a way that leaves them feeling satisfied when they walk away. Because again, time investment, they have to get something that's of equal value for the time that they spent on you. Now, I could be totally wrong. I'll admit it. I could be totally wrong. Maybe I'm looking at this from a biased point of view. This part of why I do this discussion video is because I want to hear what you guys have to say about it. You know, are you seeing this through the same lens that I am? Or are you kind of seeing it more from like, well, no, because fans are stupid and they don't always understand the complexities of da-da-da-da-da. I want to know. I want to know what your thoughts are on this. I want you to share it with me. Maybe together we can have a very productive discussion. Please leave all name calling and things out of it. And maybe we can come to a conclusion together, or at least broaden our perspectives or understanding in regards to the views of other people, because I am pretty confident that this is not going to be the last time that this topic comes up, not just with me, but with multiple other people. And I think arming ourselves both on the topic itself and the various perspectives on it will enable us to have a stronger argument should we go against somebody that has a very different opinion than what we have. Again, just it's good to be armed when you go into an argument. So anyway, yep, let's have a discussion down below. Let's talk about this. Let's see if we can share some experiences, some thoughts, some opinions. Again, I would like to be constructive. No name calling, no whatever. You know, try to, if you see something that gives you a knee-jerk reaction, please just take a moment, breathe, think about it, and then engage. Because knee-jerk reactions are really not going to be very productive in this discussion, in my opinion. Alright, so with the whole video out of the way, we get to do my quick promos, and then I'm signing out for Friday. Again, I have my pre-order that's available for Queen of Swords and Silence. That's coming out on August 9th. If you have not signed up already for the giveaway, you still have time. The giveaway is basically, you can sign up for until like the end of the day on August 8th, my time. So I'm in Mountain Standard Time, so midnight my time, okay? You still have a chance to sign up for that. There are mugs, there's a poster, there's a whole bunch of stuff. The prizes are on my website if you want to go check that out, so that way you can see what you can have. I will link that down below for you as well. If you are not too sure, if you are new to my channel somehow and like you just found your way here and you're not quite sure if I know what I'm talking about, this writing nonsense, I got a newsletter. If you sign up, you get a free short story. You can check it out, see if you like my characters, if you like my writing style. If you do or you don't, that's the best way to decide. And you can always unsubscribe from my newsletter when it comes out. My feelings won't be hurt too much, but you know, I would rather you see if you like something before going and doing an investment, if that makes any sense. But that is all I have to say. I'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch this entirely long discussion video. I'm looking forward to having this discussion with you, and I hope that you all have a wonderful weekend.